Hello guys, you are welcome to my YouTube channel once again, and this is part 2 of our burger tutorial. And in this tutorial I'll be showing us how to do some basic texturing and how to shade an object in Blender. Now let's proceed. First of all, we'll select this and let's go to our shading mode. Left click to select this first, and let's go to our shading mode straight up. And we are here in our shading nodes. This is where we have our nodes editor for shading. So we're going to be applying some colors to our burger, or we can come to this base color and click on this color here, and I'm going to bring this to this point. I'm going to take this down a little bit. I'll do the same here. Can select the tomatoes and let's add a color to this. Let's give it kind of orange, red orange. I can select this first and let me hide this so I can see every other object. So I can select this and let me make this kind of looking like a tomato color. So we can play around all this color as well to select this, and let's just ensure the color varies from one another, or make this purple for the onion. So this is just the base color to just give us how to just show us how our burger is going to look like. So we just need to just change the colors and just play around creativity. Make this kind of color and select, go to base color and change the color. So this is just simply how to add texture to your mesh. Select this pasta and let's give this yellow color, shiny yellow. I think it's better like this. And as for the meats, I will make it kind of darker also. So I'll give it kind of orange color and make and reduce the strength, looking brownish. And I'll select this for the vegetable. I'm going to give it lemon color, kind of green for vegetables. I think I need to make this one a little bit darker as well for the meat. So I think this is okay, and I'll bring back my burger and I will say base color once again. I'm going to just bring this guy to this point. So I have something like this. Just have to play around creativity and see how things looks like. What I will do, I will select this plate. I will leave it at white, so I will increase the specularity and reduce the roughness for it to have this kind of plastic look. But I'm not in subdivision surface, I'm not in smooth mode, so because of my system, so I just want to do this very fast. I can select this backdrop here and I will say base color. I can make this blue. It's a bit like sky blue. I think this is okay for me. So this is simply how to add texture, add a little bit simple shading to your burger. So what I want to do now, I want to do some texture painting on this burger. So now let's proceed. I can come to my texture paint. I can select this, and what I will do now, I will add a image texture. So I'll come to my node editor here and say Shift A here and say texture, and I'll say image. No, not magic texture. Shift A texture. I'll bring in image texture. So what I will do now is very simple. I'll come to this place. I have new. I'll say new. I can call this flower texture, flower text, and I'll come to this color here. And I'm going to now bring this color to what I'm having here. So it looks very simple, not complex, like this. And okay, just try to play around, and I think this is okay for the burger. Now I'll say okay, and I'm going to connect this color to this base color. First, let me rename this texture as flower text underscore text. So what I will do now, I will now connect this color to the base color. So it's very simple, and just try to play around with it. And now we have our color here. So it's very simple to do. And what I'll do next, I'll go to my UV editing and apply that texture also. So come to UV editing here, click on the UV, and now you can see that our texture is already placed here already. So in our UV here, let's go to face selection. You can toggle this on so you can see your UV properly. So we are in face selection. This is an island, this is an island, this is an island. So if you bring your mouse cursor here and you hover on it and say L, that means we've selected this island. So you have some good. Let me click slash on my keyboard to hide every other object so we can see it properly. So this is an island. If you hover your mouse here and say L, so we see another island, and this is another island. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be painting on all these islands. And since we've created our image texture and we have our image texture here, we can start painting this flower that we model looking like a real burger. But we are just keeping it simple. We're not doing very realistic burger. We're keeping it simple as well too also. So now what we'll do next, we'll come to our texture painting right away. Texture painting, and now what we see now is this. So we have something like this. If you click T on your keyboard, N on your keyboard, you have our texture palette here, our color palette here, and some tools we'll be needing. If you click N here, also we still have them, but we can either paint in this place and paint here. But first, come to your color palette and click it, and so you can now start adding color. I can choose this color. I can say S to pick a color. You can say S on your keyboard. If you click S, you can pick this color here. And if I drop that, I have something looking like that. So I have this color here. I can just push this upwards a little bit. So I can also pick a white color. I can also bring this here. Let me pick a white color too. I will say add. So I have white color. I think this is okay for me now. I can also pick an orange color, a little bit orange, and say add. So I have these colors here. But so what I will do now, I will start painting. I will choose the white first, and I will start painting on my burger. But first, what I want to do is very simple. I want to add what we call texture. I want to add kind of texture to this, so I don't paint just only pure white. You can increase the radius and reduce the radius at this point. You can say F on your keyboard and push your mouse inwards and outwards to reduce or increase the radius. You can increase the strength of your brush also, and so when I paint, it becomes sharper. If I increase the strength and paint, it becomes sharper. So if you reduce the strength, it becomes faint. But first, let's save our document by saying Ctrl S to save your document. So always save your document at every point in time, and always come here and say save all images. So I'm going to save this texture image. I'll say save image. So now I have saved that image. What I'll do next, I'll come to this point that I have texture here, and I'll say new. I want to add a brush texture, and I'll come to where we have image or movie. I will click on this arrow pointing downwards and say cloud texture. So whenever I paint on my, let me increase the videos a little bit. So whenever I paint on my burger, I have something looking like a cloud here, like a cloud texture here. So I'll do Ctrl Z back, and I'll come to this color dock, and I'll go to mix. I think by default is mix, so we'll leave it at mix first. And I think we are set to paint now. So after you have done those settings, you can start your painting. First, let me just make this white color, so we can just paint. So we'll leave it at white color. So F to increase and reduce the size of your brush, and say N on this side. So we can either paint on these two sides. You can either paint here also. So see what we have. I can either paint here. So you can paint in two different ways. You can paint in the grid here on your UV here, and you can also paint directly in here also. So I'll choose to paint here first. So I can push this guy this way. I can paint properly, and because the down of this burger is quite looking like a white, it's not looking that kind of brown. So you can play around so many things here. Play around the opacity. You should know when to reduce the strength. This is good now, and I can do this. So I can rotate and also paint this way a little bit. Paint downwards here. So we have something looking like that. So like I said, you can choose to paint on the UV also, or you paint it directly. You can choose to paint here also if you wish. One that is best for you, you can try that. You can wish to paint here also, like that. And what I'll do next, I will say N again on my keyboard, and I will come to now pick this color here. And what I will do now, I want to add what we call overlays to this. But first, before I add the overlays, I will have to reduce the strength also, and I'll say F to increase the size. So I don't want this part to be looking pure white. I want it to look off white also. So I'll reduce the strength of my brush, and I'm going to paint this white region. So it's going to look kind of off white, not looking pure white. So we want to keep it kind of very realistic and simple also, so we can understand properly. So I'll paint it kind of looking like an off-white color, not a pure white. So what I'll do next, I'll go straight to the point here, and I'll select these two here, and I'll say N on my keyboard to hide that, and I'll come to this, my colors, my brush blending mode, and I'll click on this, and I'll say overlay. So I can say F to increase the size. So what this overlay does, that it gives us this kind of burnt look on our burger. So I can also come here to increase the size of, or reduce the size of the texture, our brush texture. I can say F. I think I'm going to increase the strength a little bit, so I can just have something looking like this on top. This kind of burnt look on the burger. So I can just paint around. So what I'll do is very simple now. I'm just going to keep it very simple. I'm going to paint this part of the burger also. I think this is okay now. So what I'll do now, I'll come to this point again. I'm going to change this from overlay. I'll change this to saturation. So just give it a little bit, some few saturations, add some saturations to it. So I can reduce the brush a little bit. So I want to add some saturations up here. I'm going to increase the strength, add some saturations. So you can increase the strength properly also. You have something looking like this. But first, let me go to my subdivision surface. Okay, left click on this. First, let me go to my layout. So let me make this shade smooth so we can see it properly, and let's go back to our texture painting. So I have something looking like this now, and I can now start adding some saturations. I can increase the saturations, increase the size of the brush a little bit, and I'm gonna paint this way, just adding few saturations downwards here. So now I'll go back, reduce the strength. So I'm gonna add what we call um, darken. I'm going to darken the colors. I'm going to reduce the strength very well. So just give it some bit of darkness on the burger. So adding these textures actually make this burger look more realistic and look more cool. So I can either paint here also. So I'll go back to my overlay again and do that downwards here. So I'm going to paint downwards here a little bit. You can say N. I can come back to my, I say N. Can increase the strength here. And let me just add some overlays down here. So I'm kind of looking like burnt look down here. And I'm going to come back here also and just add some few overlays here. So what I'm doing, I'm going to change the color picker tool to white. I'm going to add white overlays to this white region also and see how it looks. I'm going to increase the strength. So I'm just going to add some few white overlays here. So you can choose to increase the size or reduce the size of the texture brush to make it look something like this. So I can make this looking like this, and just try to play around creativity and ensure you are having fun while texture painting. I'm just going to keep this simple so we can move on to the next object. So I'm just going to do this like this, and so I have something looking like this now. Now I'm going to take my orange also. I'm going to reduce the strength to this point, and I'm going to now add some overlays. I'm going to go back to my mix and just fill this up with my normal surface color. So I'm just going to just make it faint and just wrap it all over this burger top here. So just try to keep it simple also. Okay, so I'm going to increase the strength here once again and can texture paint on this place. We can go to color bond, overlay, okay, overlays, okay. So you can just texture paint here also. I'm going to go to set hue, add some hues to it. So we just have to just play around some kind of creativity here also. So you can just play around things. You can make this white also. Oh, let's reduce the strength. I'm gonna add some little bit of redness to this. Let's just make it this way. So you can try all the brushes and see what they do. So I think we've come to the end of this texturing here. I think I'm now satisfied with what I'm doing. So I can just add this one more last one, increase the strength, and just wrap it around this flower here. So we're going to still add some noise texture to this, some more details. I think we are okay now, so I can come now and say save all images. Always save all images. And now what we'll do now, we'll go to our layout back again. And so if you come here, so this is what we have here. we can say Ctrl S on our keyboard to save this document. And now, so we'll do the same thing here. So we can say one on our keyboard, notepad keyboard. Instead of us texture painting this also, I can hide this, I can delete this and say delete on my keyboard. Let me go back to my layout. And I can select this and say Shift D to duplicate. I will say arrow X 180 to rotate on the 180 degree. I'm going to push this guy downwards. So instead of me having another texture for the floor down beneath, I can easily just duplicate this and rotate, and so we don't have to redo it again. So I can now come here now and select this. Can go to my texture painting back again. So what I want to do is that, because since they are sharing the same material, whatever thing I do to this one will actually affect this other one. So now I can also see add more details. So I can paint on the two now and see how it's going to look like. So I can come here can come and add a little bit color dodge. This just gives it some kind of shininess on the flower. So just can increase the strength also and see what it looks like. So it gives it this shininess. So we can do that downwards also. So we are basically painting on both of them. Just want to be fast about it and not too fast, and keep it very simple. Reduce the strength, and they just give us some shininess to our burger. So I think this is okay now. Just add some few details here, and let me make this mix and increase the strength. So you can come to where we have softening. So this helps us blur these edges also. Can blur these edges. Can use softening to blur that edges. And we can reduce the strength. I think it's much. So we just try to blur these edges a little bit. Just try to blur these edges a little bit so we have sharp colors out there. So just try and blur these edges. This is our softening tool. So we blur these edges. Say N to hide that. So let's just blur this point. We're just trying to keep this very simple so we don't. You can also increase the strength and reduce the strength of. Let's reduce the brush so we can now paint properly. So blur all these edges upwards here. So we don't have sharp white paint on the burgers. Trying to keep this simple and want to be fast about it. I think these edges are properly blurred now. So here is our flower for our burger, and we are pretty good to go. So I'm going to say N again, and I'm going to say save all images, N to hide that, and I'm going to go to layout. So once I come to my viewport shading mode, I have my burger properly blended. So what I'll do next, I'll come to my select these tomatoes, and what we do now, we're going to come to our shading mode. and add an image texture to that tomato. But first, I will select this backdrop and I'm going to change the color. It's looking too bright. I'm going to give it kind of dark blue. I'm going to select these tomatoes back. Control S to always save your documents, and I'm going to say Shift A, go to texture, and go to image, and I'll say new again. I'm going to come to color here. I think this for the tomatoes. This for the tomatoes. I'm going to come to new, come to color here, and let's make this looking like a tomatoes color. Say OK. I'm going to move this to the base color. So I have these tomatoes here. I'm going to go to my texture painting, and I'm going to click slash on my keyboard and click slash again, so I can now work only on these tomatoes. So our UV has already been laid out for us for these tomatoes. So we can come here to our texture painting. You can say N on our keyboard. You can say save all image. And what we'll do next again. So we have not added this material. You can say tab. So what I'll do now, I'll say N again. So we'll come back to our draw brush, and we're going to change this to something looking like yellow. Tomatoes have kind of yellow and orange color, so we'll leave it at something looking like yellow, and we're going to stay at mix, keep this at mix also. And what we'll do, we're going to start painting. Let's increase the brush a little bit, and let's just paint some yellow. So we are still using this cloud texture a little bit, so it just gives us that kind of tomato kind of feel. Just paint it. I'm not really doing too much on this tomato, we're just giving it some texture. So to delete this texture out, not to use this cloud texture again, you just come to this place here and say none, and we can cancel it here also. So when we paint, we can paint only our mixed texture brush on this tomato, so we can reduce the strength and just paint a little bit. You can say F to reduce the size of the brush, and let's just paint at the surface. So we're just making this very simple. I have to paint this guy very simple, not too much. I can turn again and just paint downwards. So we can also say S to select this tomato color here, and we're going to come, I'm going to pick this color, and we're going to come to our overlays, and let's add some bunting, some kind of burnt tomatoes look. F to increase the size, and let's increase the strength also, so we can have something looking like a burnt tomatoes. So we have our tomato looking kind of burnt also. You can just paint this all over this place. So we won't spend much time on these tomatoes. It's not something we have to spend much of our time. This is okay now for the tomatoes. So and I'm going to come here and say save all image. I'll go back to my layout. So what I will do now, I will right click and say shade smooth, and I'll select this first. I'm going to hide this. So what I will do, since I've paint my tomatoes, I can say 7 for my top view, and I'm going to select all these other tomato I created, and I'm going to delete them, and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to say shift D to duplicate them. So shift D to duplicate. So we can also copy materials to one another. So I'm going to do that for the onion. I'm going to copy the materials to the other ones, and let's see how it's going to look like. So we have our tomatoes here. So we're going to carry out this process for the rest of this burger tutorial. So we're going to carry this process. So you're going to texture all that you've seen. So you can now make some fair adjustment. You can say S to scale this guy. You can push this forward also. Push this forward. Bring this way. Also select this and just say S to scale a little bit. So I'm trying to keep this simple also. You can say, so now let's add Ctrl S to save. So we're going to do that for the onion also. We're going to come to our shading here and say Shift A, and let's go to texture and say image texture. We come here, we say new. You can come to color and let's make this purple. Let's bring this down upward. I think this is okay for our onion. We say okay. We're going to connect this to the base color. I'm going to come back to our UV editing, and now it's here already. I can say slash on my keyboard double time, so I can see my onion here. It's laid out already. So I'm going to come to my texture painting here. I'll click slash, and I'll click slash again, so I can see only my onion. So I'm going to come move this from overlay to mix, and I'm going to come and select this white. The top of the onion is always white, so I can now start painting the top to be white. I can also add that brush color on our texture painting here. Come to new, and let's add cloud texture to this. We can also reduce the size, so we can also increase the strength also. So we can paint the top of our onion white. So this is going to be cool. So we can paint the bottom white also. So you just have to just be creative about all this. You can paint this guy white, and now we have so what do we want to paint the side of this onion. So we still have some purples up here, so I'm going to reduce the strength and just paint the corners a little bit white. You can also reduce the brush size, so we can paint it this way, more looking like an onion shape and color. So we're going to do the same. We're going to come to here. We have mix. We're going to say overlay. Let's see what it looks like, and let's increase the strength. So we can increase the strength properly, and let's paint on our white. But now we're going to say S to pick this purple color. So we're going to pick this purple here and increase the strength of our overlays, and we can just add some kind of burntness to. Let's reduce the strength a little bit, and let's just add some burntness to this. Something looking like this. So it makes it more cooler and nice. So I think it's okay. Let's reduce the strength one more time, and let's just spread it upwards. Let's come here also. Let's increase the strength of the overlays for the white. So this is okay now. So you are done with the onion. We're not really doing much on the onion. So we'll say come back to layout, but first I think we didn't save that texture color. So let's save all images so we don't lose them. And come back to layout. So now we can now say push this guy. Let's apply our shade smooth. And let's see shade smooth. Let's apply this also. So we have something looking like this. So we can, since we've added details to this, we can now push this outwards looking like this. We can say S to scale. And we can select this first, and let's hide this. So now I can select this and say delete on my keyboard. Delete. I can say 7 for my top view, and Shift D to duplicate this guy there. Shift D to duplicate and push this guy forward, and say Shift D to duplicate. So now I can rotate them. Now I can just place them, take them up and say R to rotate. I can say 3 on my notepad keyboard and say R to rotate. Just just kind of rotating them. I can come here so I can do this properly. Say R to rotate. Rotate that. Say R to rotate this. And push this upwards. Take this inside a little bit. R to rotate that. So select this and say R to rotate. But first, let me push it upwards and see R to rotate. So we just have to just play around the variations also. You can push this upwards also. So I can select this and apply my shade smooth, the tomatoes, shade smooth, the tomatoes, and shade smooth, the tomatoes. So we're going to come back here and let's bring this up and let's go back to our viewport shading and let's see how things looks. But first we're going to apply this process to our vegetables also. So it's very simple. Select this vegetable and let's go to our shading. And what I want to do in this vegetable is just very simple. I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to add a Shift A, or since it's a vegetable, it doesn't need much details. I'm just going to add surface color to it, kind of make it looking yellow also. So I'm going to add surface color and increase my subsurface color. So what I will do now is I'm increasing it. It's going to give us this kind of green and yellow look, like green and yellow. So it's going to give us something like green and yellow. So increase this. I'm just going to have two color blend together. As you can see now, it's looking kind of nice. So you have something looking like green at the same time. You have it looking like, it's a shade smooth. So we have it looking like green and yellow at the same time. I can now turn this on for it to look like this. So if I increase it, it gives it this yellow kind of look also. So I can add subsurface color to all this also. I can select this and add subsurface color. I can make this a little bit dark orange. This orange, and add subsurface color to this border here. So it just gives it some feel, some kind of flair, and some kind of uniqueness also. And once I add subsurface color, it makes it more nicer. So I can easily darken the color also. It just has a small role to play also. I can select this pasta tool and add subsurface color to this, or make it red, orange subsurface color, red. So I'm going to now increase this. So when I do my smooth, come to shade smooth, so I have something looking like this. I can add more to this just to give it some blend. Same thing for the tomatoes. You can add surface color and let's make it looking red, and let's increase the subsurface color. Same thing with the onion. Let's give subsurface color purple, like peach, and let's increase the subsurface color. So just add some depth to our so let's increase this also. We just add some depth to our burger texture. Let's increase this also. We're going to add some depth to that also. As for the meat, we're going to give it some subsurface color also. We're going to do some texture painting on that, make it to be orange, and let's give it kind of black subsurface color. Can look brownish and darker for the meat. So we can come here now and say shade smooth and shade smooth. So we have our meat here, and we can make this darker also, very dark. And this is pretty cool for us to be the meat. So this is just simply how to create a burger. So we can do some adjustments. Come to layout, let's say Ctrl S to save, and always save your documents. Now let's go back to this mode. So you can just make some few adjustments here and rotate, select that and rotate this way. You can push this guy downwards, select and push these two guys downwards also. I want it to be like this, not for it touching. So let's push them downwards, down here. You can say arrow to rotate. Just rotate slightly and bring this guy downwards also. So this is okay now. I can push this downwards. So there's something I would have done in part 1, so I'm going to do that now. I think it skipped my mind. I'm going to create some seeds on our top of this floor here. So first I can just select this and let me hide this first. Not necessary for now. Hide the backdrop. So I'm going to create some seeds on top of this place. So I'm going to hold shift and right click to move my cursor. But I'm going to right click and move my cursor to the top of this floor here and say shift A. I'm going to come to mesh. I'm going to bring in a plane. I'm going to say S to scale this plane to this point. I'm going to push this upwards, resting on this burger top here. I'm going to say tab for edit mode. I'm going to push it upwards a little bit. I'm going to say Control arrow for vector selection of 3 and Control arrow for loop cut. Sorry for that. Just add 2 loop cuts. I'm going to say slash on my keyboard to hide that. So I'm going to say 7 on my keyboard and say 1 for vector selection, and select these vectors here. So I'm creating something looking like a seed, like kind of a sprinkle. It's going to be my sprinkle. So I'm going to select this also, and just try to create something nice. I can say S to scale. Okay, now select this and push backwards. So I can select this and push upwards a little bit. I say S to scale. So we have something looking like this. So I'm going to say A to select all. I'm going to say E to extrude this guy upwards. I'm going to select all these vectors is here. I'm going to push them upwards. You can say S to scale on the Y, X and Y, scale on the Y axis. You can say S to scale inwards also. But first I'll just select this and just push this like this, creating something looking like a seed. So I can just hold shift and select all these vectors. Just push this guy upwards like the seed is popping up. Control arrow to just add 1 loop cut here. So I can just select this seed, this place also, and pop this up here like this. And select this and push. I want to keep this kind of low poly also. Select and push this. So this is now looking like a seed for. Can add 1 loop cut here, just 1. Now say tab for my object mode. I'm going to say add a modifier. So now I'm going to add what we call subdivision surface modifier. I'm going to come to my add modifier and say subdivision surface, and I have it looking smooth. I can right click and say shade smooth, and now it's now looking more like a seed. I can say S and scale on the X axis to look more smoother, and say S to scale again. So when I click slash on my keyboard, I have this seed on top of my burger top. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this seed and duplicate it around this burger top, and spread it across every region of this top of this burger here. So it's going to be the seed. I can say S to scale for it to be more smaller. So what I'm going to do now, I want to do what we call snap. I'm going to snap this. I can come here first. I can select, I can come to my snap tool. This is our snap tool. Select that and click on this arrow pointing downwards. So we are snapping to face project, and we're going to say project individual elements, and this is okay. So when I say 7 on my keyboard, I'm going to my top view. If I select this and say shift D, so this object, and I say S to scale, so this seed just snapped on top of this burger here, so it's not far. I can say R to rotate, just to change this thing, the rotation. I can say S to scale also, so I can say shift D to duplicate as many as possible. So if you hold shift D, and you can just click Ctrl Z, so you can select any of them and say shift D, and then you can rotate also. You can rotate also. So we have something like this, but we are meant to make this spread. So you can come here also and say shift D, and you see that this seed is just snapped on top of this burger floor. Shift D to duplicate. I can say arrow to rotate, shift D to duplicate. I can say arrow to rotate the size. I can rotate it sinking inside the burger. So we can just play around creative. Select anyone, say shift D, shift D, shift D, shift D, shift D, shift D. So you can just try to just spread this around this burger. So what we do now, we just have to just select and say arrow to rotate, 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 arrow to rotate. I think I'll pause this. After duplicating your seeds, we can come back to our texture, our shading mode again. And what are we doing? We're going to add some texture to our seed also, to make it look nice. So we're going to select this seed here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of them and duplicate, and no, I'm going to merge them together. I'm going to select this and scroll downwards, and I'm going to hold shift and select all these seeds. So all my seeds are selected, and I'm going to say Ctrl J on my keyboard to join them. So now they are now one element. So I can say F2 on my keyboard and call them seeds. I'm going to come to new here. I'm going to give it a base color. I'm going to make it looking like an off-white, and I'm going to increase my subsurface color. I'm going to give it also red, something looking like orange, or something looking like a yellow color. I'm going to now increase my subsurface color to this point, so I have something, a seed looking like this. And what I'm going to do again, I'm going to reduce the roughness. I want it to be shining. I'm going to reduce the roughness. I'm going to come to my plate. I'm going to go to my shade smooth, and let me say shade smooth, and now my plate is also looking like a plastic. If you watch, it's shining, and it's looking nice. So I can increase the level view to 2, so it looks more better. I can also select this onion and reduce the roughness a little bit. Also the tomatoes, reduce the roughness to give it some kind of shininess. The pasta also reduce the roughness. The vegetables also, let's reduce the roughness also in them. As for the top burger, can reduce the roughness also just to give it some, just a little bit, not too shiny. I think this is okay now. So we've come to the end of texturing on our burger. You can go back to our layout now, and let's turn this on, and Ctrl S to always save your documents. And let's bring our backdrop. So we have our backdrop here, and this is the end of part 2 of our burger tutorial. So on our next class, on our next tutorial, part 3, I'm going to be adding camera to this scene. We're going to add lights, and we're going to render our scene. So thanks for watching. It's been a long one. I really appreciate your efforts. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, make comments, and share this video, share this link to your friends, to your neighbors. Burger tutorial part 2. So thanks you guys for watching. Stay tuned.